and I've always been a person who's been out and about a lot. So being at home was not an option. It was more like a relaxing thing. It's okay to be grumpy. It's okay to be annoyed. It's okay to do nothing. It's okay to say no. Everything, whether it's bad or good, gives you some learning. So it's best to forget the bad things.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Reach Her podcast. We hear you, and this is a platform for all budding women out there. This is Madhumati here with a creative guest today. We have Nikita here, an artist who has been into various dimensions within the field of art. Let's welcome her. Hello, Nikita. Welcome to our show.
Hi, thank you so much.
How are you doing, Nikita?
I'm doing well. What about you?
I'm good, thank you. So, how are you managing your days? How's your life going?
So actually, after the lockdown started, it kind of the timeline kind of messed up. It's completely topsy turvy right now.
Okay.
But since I'm doing what I really like doing, I end up working most of the time. But then I have to keep reminding myself that I need to take a break. So I try and do that. So I just try and manage it with a little bit of baking or a little bit of cooking and a lot of painting.
Oh, nice. So your days after this lockdown has started, it must have changed a lot. Though even before that, you were into art and all these things. Things would have changed a lot, right? How did it change? How was it before COVID and after COVID?
So before COVID, it was a slightly different kind of a scenario. So I was still working for a very long time in the corporate world, and a couple of months before COVID set in, is when I decided that I'm going to quit my job and focus completely on my art and take the business forward. And just a couple of weeks before the lockdown started, I had quit, and I had decided that I'm going to set up office. I'm going to set up at least go to a co-working space and work and have a lot of different things, and I had ideas. So I do also a lot of merchandise. So my plan was to take part in a lot of these kind of art events and pop-ups that happen, and create merchandise accordingly. But after COVID set in, everything turned because I know that the market is different, completely different right now. And I couldn't get out, I couldn't set up an office, and I had to set up a home office. So my timings changed, I couldn't go out. My work involved, especially in the beginning, it involves a lot of meeting people and then selling yourself, because you have to talk about your work, you have to meet different kinds of people, you have to attend events, you have to be part of events, and now all of that is not going to be possible. So it's a very different thing because you have to relearn a lot of things. You have to figure out how to contact people and reach them online, and everybody is now very busy or everybody is very disturbed. So there are these two spectrums, and there's very little way to find a middle ground. So now after COVID set in, things changed. I had to pivot in a lot of ways. I had to figure out how to make things work for myself. And so that way I started off with Instagram Live from the first day when this set in lockdown.
Yeah.
So that's when things sort of changed. I did it more because I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do. I just woke up that morning and I was like, that's when it sunk in that I can't go out, I can't meet anybody, I can't do anything as planned as before. And I've always been a person who's been out and about a lot. So being at home was not an option. It was more like a relaxing thing. So when you're constantly at home, that kind of like gets to you.
Yeah.
So I started an Instagram Live at 3 p.m. more to for myself to feel a little good. Because I love drawing, I love painting, I love creating art. So I thought, okay, let me just do like a 15-minute thing. So initially it was just a couple of people who joined in, and I made sure that I'm regular. So I've not missed one day ever since. I think it's now been more than 4 months. And I noticed that a lot of people loved drawing along. And I started introducing different things that I know, different mediums of painting, different mediums of art. So all kinds of things I tried out. I tried out watercolors, pencils, and acrylics one day, and then we did coffee painting. So a lot of things through live I started doing, and I started meeting a lot of people through that. So even though we don't meet face to face, it still feels as if you have a social circle. So, and it's nice to meet like-minded people. So I think I found a very new medium of how to interact with people, not necessarily offline. So that way, that kind of like changed the direction a little bit for me.
So after this COVID started, you had different plans, but though things changed and it didn't go according to your plan, it still worked out in favor to some extent, right? I mean, meeting people and starting your own thing and all. So you've been before this COVID and during the COVID, one thing that was constant was art for you. So you have been involved in art since quite a long time. So when did it start, and how did you involve yourselves in drawing, in art, and everything?
Okay, so this it started, like you said, it started quite a long time back. My mother used to draw a lot when she was younger, and then she sort of left it, and she was good. She's very nice in her drawing skills. So when I was very young, I was a very introvert as a child. So I won't really reach out and play with other kids unless they come to me. So I was so it was very difficult to keep me occupied that way because I would keep running around her all the time. So then she introduced me to like drawing. So like all kids, we learned stick figures, the first thing. And my mother noticed that I would be occupied for like hours together just drawing, and there was absolutely nothing else that was needed for me. So there are incidents where I think I got stuck inside a room once when I was really small, but I didn't get scared because all I was doing was drawing. So that's when they realized that I was so engrossed in something that nothing else bothered me. And that's when my journey started. At the age of 7, I was taken to a cartoonist in Chennai called Mr. Ranu. He's no more right now, but so that's when my journey of professional learning at a young age started. So I learned from him. I trained under him for about, I think, 8 years or more. And parallelly, I was introduced to a lot of different masters and artists in Chennai. And I learned a lot of different forms of art. So from cartooning to painting, and then poster colors, watercolors. So I was introduced to a lot of different mediums. And since I was introduced to each new medium, there would be a lot of unlearning and learning. So each master would have their own style, and they would have their own way of even drawing. Like one of my masters used to ask me to draw lots of lines. Another master would say I have to draw only a single line. So when you're very young, you get kind of confused as to what you're supposed to follow. So that constantly was there in my head, that if you need to learn something, then you have to unlearn. So that's something which kind of helped me right now, because like you said, I had very different plans before COVID set in, but then after it set in, I knew that things are going to change. So there was no point of just sitting and worrying about it. So you have to do something. You have to constantly try something. You're not going to get results immediately, and that's completely fine. It's only over time that something could happen. So I've always been a person like that. So that sort of helped me. It obviously came through time. And then so throughout my schooling, I would participate also in a lot of contests which would happen. So at that time, there were a lot of drawing competitions, more because new brands would come in, and this is about 90s. So there wouldn't be so many advertisements that would happen. There would be more of introduction of new things through contests. So they would bring like 100 to 100 kids at a place, and they know that kids love to buy things. So if they're introducing a new Barbie, there would be a Barbie contest. So I participated in like a lot of contests that way, and that sort of built up a little bit of confidence, and it was fun. For me, that was the most amazing thing to do. Every Sunday there would be something. And then the Hindu Young World used to organize a lot of contests. So I used to participate in almost all of them. And then when time came to take a decision of which stream to take in terms of 11th, whether it had to be science or it had to be commerce, that is when I was initially inclined towards science, because I thought I want to do something different. And because according to my family, so there are not a lot of people in science. Everybody wants to just take commerce, would go into business, or they would go into something CA or that kind of line. So I was thinking of science, and then the funny story is my family doctor is who suggested that I should get into NIFT in Chennai, and I should give that a shot, because he knew me from the time I was a baby.
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. So he knew me much better, I think, than what I thought. So his wife was also a faculty in NIFT, and so he heard a lot of very good things about NIFT from her. So that's when he thought that that's some place that I could fit in very easily. And that's when, and at that time it was very hard to find information about things. Google was very new, everything was really new. So I found out some details and figured out that you don't need a science undergrad, like 12th or 11th for getting into NIFT, at least the stream that I wanted. And that's when I decided, so in 10th, I decided my focus is going to be NIFT. And I applied, I got through, and so I did like my undergrad over there and NIFT Chennai. And that's when it opened a lot of different spectrums of design. So you're more than actually teaching you design, they open up different fields, different opportunities that you can look at. Like I didn't know about digital art before that. I didn't know about that you can get into gaming, that you can get design into anything, everything can be designed. And that's when it completely broadened up the way they introduce you to different things was very nice at that time. Okay. So although I did my undergrad in fashion, I realized towards the end that that wasn't something that I was very interested in. It wasn't very rewarding or satisfying for me. And that's when after college got over, I shifted into like different fields of design. I first went into graphic, and then I moved for some time into clothing. That was something that I didn't like at all. I wasn't happy, and I realized that's not my calling. I need to figure out what else is there. So I'm very instinctive that way. I would just, if I feel that I'm not happy doing something, I wouldn't really think it through too much, which kind of like over the years in your 20s, I think we are very impulsive. True. And when I entered the 30s, I became a little less impulsive, but I'm trying to train my mind to be more impulsive now. Okay. So I jumped into gaming. And that is when I realized that I absolutely loved cartooning. I loved anything which is very expressive. So I was part of a gaming company in Bangalore, and they were working for Zynga, and like we were more like a outsourcing company which would create games for Zynga. And that's when that was, I think, the best job I had ever. And that was super fun. It didn't seem like a job. Even if I'm working constantly, it didn't feel like I'm doing anything. It just felt like I'm having a lot of fun. So that set a benchmark for me that you're supposed to have fun no matter what you're doing. And that's when you would be able to enjoy your life and you'll be able to give it 100%. True. And I moved back after that to Chennai, and I took up a big break after that. I decided that the job was so good, it was so satisfying that I need to just sink in that feeling inside me. I need to just enjoy that feeling for some time. So I took a break for about a year, and then I thought, okay, what next? What other things is there in design that I can explore? Because I wasn't really sure yet about starting up on my own. Okay. That has actually been something which I've never really had that confidence. I never thought that I could do it on my own. I don't know why it was like that, but I think it has a lot to do with the mindset. It has a lot to do with the upbringing, the society, the surroundings, and everything. I think I was just playing safe all the time. So that was something which I was doing. Then I took a big plunge and I went into IT. I thought, let's see what is there in design over there. And I was quite surprised that it does have like a lot of things to do. And so it has a lot of, in fact, it is not very organized. And I noticed that a lot of mentoring is required. And so when I was in my previous jobs, I realized, so I would have like a team of people, and it was really nice to mentor people. And since in college and over the course of years, you are taught to look at things in a very different way. So it's easier for you to explain why something is nice. Okay. And that is something which a lot of people find a little difficult. So during the stint at the IT, I realized that is something that I'm able to do. I'm able to differentiate and give an opinion of why something is nice and why something is not nice. And I was introduced to a new term called UX, which is user experience design. And that was something which attracted me a lot. So I started working towards that, and I moved into it. And I became a product manager after that in design, focusing on UX. And I loved that. It was another job that I absolutely loved because I think it like we find out things that we like only after we do things that we hate. So there were a lot of mistakes that I had done, a lot of wrong decisions I had taken, and when I took a good decision, I realized it when I noticed that I was happy.
Yeah.
But as fate had it, I think I got bored of a lot of things.
Okay.
Like I was telling before, I work a lot on instinct, and this time I decided, okay, let me first decide what I want to do. I knew I wanted to do something on my own. So 10 years down the line, if I look at myself, I'm not sure if I would be comfortable or I would be happy doing a 9 to 5 job. Maybe I would be happier if I had things on my own and I had the freedom to do what I want to do and just do what I want to do. So that was something which was weighing very heavily on my head, and I couldn't think of a job which will give me that kind of freedom unless it's something I'm doing on my own. So I decided to test the waters. So I started freelancing. I started doing tiny projects, and there was this whole period where I was a little sick in 2019. I had got this food allergy, which we couldn't figure out what it was. And so there are a lot of medicines that you take, and it lasted for about 8-9 months, and we did a lot of tests, a lot of doctors, all kinds of things, and couldn't figure out at all. Finally, it became better. It became completely okay. But during those 9 months is when the medicines, they take a toll on you. You become cranky, you become irritated, you bloat up, and it's just like completely messes with your health. And art is what helped me a lot at that time. So I would just create something. So out of frustration, my Instagram page opened up last year because I used to put earlier on my private page, and so only people who knew me would get things done from me, and so it's a small circle. So one day I was really frustrated because I was having a very hard day and I was very grumpy. And so when you're very grumpy, people tend to like get this negative vibe from you, or they just like feel like, why are you grumpy all the time? So that's when I posted this thing saying it's okay to be grumpy. It's okay to be annoyed. It's okay to do nothing. It's okay to say no. Because you're expected to never show your emotions out too much. You're expected to always hide them and feel good no matter what the problems are. But it's fine. It's fine to just let it out there. So I started the page and I started posting just things that I like. Everything that I was doing, everything that I liked. And I started noticing that people, so it didn't matter to me at that time or even now about if I'm doing something to please somebody. That was never an important thing because that's not how things would work. The whole point of it was to let your inner frustration or your feelings out. So it became like a medium for me like that, and I started noticing that a lot of like-minded people started connecting with me, and I started creating merchandise. I started creating notebooks, badges, and it started really small with tiny things. Earlier it was more of digital art, paintings, physical paintings, and hand-done stuff. And then slowly I started moving into things that I felt I wanted to have. So everything came with that. So I love fridge magnets. So I started creating magnets. And if I'm traveling, I always pick up something from where I'm going. So I started creating things like that. And anything that I would buy. Because otherwise it's very difficult for me to connect with something that I wouldn't use myself. And then there was this big break which came, which was in November, last year, November, which was a Design Up. So I had gone. So it's an annual conference which happens every year. In 2018, I had attended it as a attendee via my office. But in 2019, they had this small thing which came up saying you can become a scholar over there. Basically, they would invite you to cover the event for a particular topic, such as sketchnoting. So sketchnoting was something which I had seen happen over there in 2018. So basically, there was a big stage. There was an artist standing in front with a huge easel. Almost all artists have an easel at home, and we only use it for painting. So this artist was drawing something on it with colorful pens. So I was very intrigued, thinking, what is exactly this thing? So when I found out, it was called sketchnoting. So it's like visual note taking. So whatever somebody's talking, you would just take those words, you would put it in words or in small drawings. So my sketching is pretty strong as compared to my lettering. So I started, I realized that I do that, but then not in such a broad format. And also not with this term. I didn't know that term before. So when I started doing a lot of research about it, I realized that I have a little different style of doing that. So I started doing it in terms of travel. So I would travel a little bit, not too much, but wherever I'm traveling, I would start creating these things like a journal. So at the end of the day, I would put up saying what all I did on that day. So it would just be like really tiny sketches of what all things that happened and things that went wrong, where we laughed, if I slipped and fell down, or if something broke. So small memories I would start capturing that way. And so when the design of scholarship came up, I decided to apply for it with these things, saying that this is what I do. And in October, I got an email saying I'm selected for it, and it was a big validation that what I'm doing is in the right direction, that there is a crowd which does this. Because I noticed a lot of people didn't understand what I was doing.
True.
And sometimes it gets very difficult to explain to people who you know, or your friends or your family, what you're doing, unless it's the very common terms which are there. Otherwise, you're just an artist. But there are a lot of forms of art, and every artist is wonderful in their own way. So this, for me personally, was like a big validation. And I designed a lot of merchandise over there as well, like all their coffee mugs, their T-shirts. And so it was a beautiful experience. I covered it along with two other...
Is it?
Yes, for that event.
Okay.
So this happened in November. Last year, November was the event. It was a 2-3 day event which I covered. It was brilliant. So I met a lot of other sketch noters, some from Bombay, somebody from Singapore. And so we realized that the community is a little small, but it's a beautiful community and everybody has their own style of creating things. And that's when I gained a lot of confidence, and I thought that I should just try. I should try whatever is over there, because prior to this, I wouldn't really hustle. Or I would be like a little skeptical. I would just feel like, no, let things come to me. I'm not going to go for things. So then obviously you can't hustle to everybody. You can't push yourself on things and on people. So I had to like filter and figure out how to do that. So there was this, I found out about something called Art Flea Mart, which happens in Chennai every 6 months, where artists or like small entrepreneurs or new artists, what they do is they put up their merchandise or art over there. So it sounded really exciting to me.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, let me sign up for that. And I signed up, and there was a spot left, and I was very excited. And in December, I had my first event. So it was like a whole rush. As soon as my dates for that event came out, I started thinking about what are the products that I should create. And I went on a spree. I went on actually a crazy spree where I created tons of different kinds of products, from magnets, bookmarks, books, badges. And then I had paintings, I had wall art, I had stickers, I had tons of things. And when I went on the day of the event, I had cold feet. So it felt, I couldn't do anything. I was just standing over there. I had some of my friends come along to help me set up the place. And I said, I can't do it, please help me. Like, I'm just going to stand here. Just help me set up. I'm going to gather myself. Also, I think it also happened because surrounding me, it's a very strange thing to say, but then surrounding me, everybody was very young. They were all in their 21s or 20s and 25s. And I was 31 and I was doing something and I was starting up. So I had this feeling in my head, am I too late? Am I starting it 10 years too late? 1 decade? That's what kept coming in my head. And it was very difficult to let that feeling go at that time. And so there was like my friends stayed, a couple of my friends, because it's very hard to like manage. And I knew I couldn't manage it. It was the first time. I was like, what is going to happen? How would the response be? Would people like my art? So that was something which was there. Till then, it was only digital. And you don't really care because you don't see a facial expression. So the event started, and then people started coming in, and it was a very regular thing, and we couldn't really gauge what the response was. But then around the afternoon, I think a lot of crowds started coming in, because in the morning it's more like people come in and they're always nice to you, no matter what happens. So you can't really get real feedback. It's very nice, it's very supportive, but only when people you don't know come, that's when you get the feedback. Yes, and I noticed that everybody who came to that stall, whether or not they bought anything, irrespective of that, they had a smile on their face all the time. So it felt very good. Yes, and that's why it felt very good to me that they're able to connect. So I have a lot of note cards which are like affirmative cards, like it's okay to not fit in, every little thing will be all right, and it would be attached with like a very very casual cartoon with a very with something like I have a lot of characters that I have created. I created
Yeah.
myself a mini version. I've created a lot of animals, and elephant is something which is, I love elephants. I've created a lot of elephants and
Okay.
pandas, and all of it also comes from my friends, my real life. So most of my art is inspired completely with that, and it felt very good to see that people are connecting with it. They are smiling, they are laughing, they are looking at each other. They are like, "Hey, this is you." So there are three pandas who are one on top of another, and
Yeah.
it says "Love is all we need." And they look at each other and they're like, "This is you, this is me, and this is our other third friend." And I felt very good because that actually comes from myself and my two best friends. So it's
Okay.
basically three of us. I could see that it's with everyone. So that's when I gained, I think, a lot more confidence, and I did about 4-5 other events. I just went ahead. I thought I need to get out there. Let me figure out what are the different places, what are the different things. Logistics is a big problem. That's when I realized that it cannot be done alone. Even at that event, I needed the help of 3 other friends and family to help me out. Somebody to talk, like I was the person interacting with most of the customers. Somebody to take care of the change, the money,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and before that, I was able to manage everything by myself, getting the QR codes, getting all the merchandise shipped, getting packing, unpacking, all of that I could manage. But at an event, I couldn't manage alone. So
True.
that's when I realized that it's very important.
Like when I was a part of one event like that. I mean, we were organizing it. So I saw many artists. We had this art street and many artists would come. I always wondered, like, they used to have a lot of things, if they wouldn't be able to bring all their collections also. They would have like large paintings, and when they have to bring it, they'll need somebody's help. Like for some people, they
Hmm.
could hire a vehicle and they could get it, but some people couldn't afford that. So for those people, it would be very difficult. And I've been wondering how
Hmm.
would they experience it. And when you said, the people connecting with the artwork and all these things, I have felt that, like, I've always wondered how will they feel, because we really like that. And we buy it or not, we just want to go experience and all these things. But I would always hesitate how would the artists feel, because we're just going and seeing. And
Hmm.
that whole experience would be totally different, right, in these art things.
Yes, I completely like, I like your side of it. I like that you're able to give me your side of it and I'm able to give you my side of
Yeah,
it,
true.
because I think at the end of the day, it didn't really matter in terms of the numbers. Yes, business wise, it does matter. But in the beginning, at least, I know for the first 5 years, there's going to be a lot of hard work which we put in, because we don't know which direction it's going to go. So it's best to put your best foot out there and try everything which is possible. So at each location or at each event, there was a very big learning that I had.
Yeah.
So I noticed what each generation of people like to buy. So there were some who liked specific things, and like, let's say people who are in college like specific things, people who are working like specific things. Grandparents would come and they
Yeah.
would just like, there were very different things which they liked to buy. So that way my experience was very good, and I started creating more different products that way. My one experience which turned out to be important was at a college.
Okay.
When I had done over there, I noticed that the sales were very average, very very average in fact. And I had a lot of fun because the person who I was volunteering along with me, she was a good friend, and we had a great time. It was
Okay.
scorching hot in Chennai, and it was in
Yeah.
the peak of summer. It was really hot, but we had a great time. And then we started thinking about what is going wrong. Why are people not willing to buy? Yes, of course, one could be because everybody has limited pocket money and we'd rather eat nice food than buy things.
True,
So,
true.
but what could be done differently? And that's when a lot of kids kept coming and asking for pop sockets. And so I decided, okay, why not try pop sockets? And a lot of things which I wasn't aware of. I think some Korean pop. I'm not very big
Okay.
fan of that, or I wasn't even aware of it. So my friend was quite aware of it. So she was like, yes, that is something maybe you should try. So for that, I realized that I need to also constantly keep learning about what's new, what's
True.
not new, and what's before, what's after, everything. So it's a very holistic learning experience, and it's just sometimes it's a little overwhelming. But that one experience helped me to create a lot of pop sockets, and it was an instant hit in all the other events that I did. And I noticed that everything, whether it's bad or good, gives you some learning. So it's best to forget the bad things. Remember
Yeah.
that yes, something like that happened, but see what awesome thing you can pick out of it. So my last one was in fact just before the lockdown at Soul Sunday, and that was a very I think for me it was my biggest achievement so far, because when I was in Bangalore, I was doing that job in gaming. I would regularly attend Sunday Soul Sunday whenever it happens, every few months or every quarter, and I would buy tons of things. I loved that a lot of artists would come over there. They would put up stuff, and I think I was introduced to Chumbak from there, and from there I became like a big fan
Chumbak
of it.
Is really cute.
Yes, quite good stuff which they created, and there was a huge difference. Like from there to now, they've evolved very differently.
Yeah.
But I loved absolutely everything that would be associated with Soul Sunday. So when it was coming again in March, it was in March 8th on Women's Day. So I was thinking like a couple of months back, that's when all the stalls start opening up. I was thinking, how will I do it? Should I do it? And I knew that I want to do it somehow, because this has been like one of those dreams where I thought, will I ever be behind that stall in Sunday Soul Sunday? So the prices are exuberant. It's crazy as compared to every other event that I had done. Plus, it was not just the stall price. It was the whole logistics of moving from Chennai to Bangalore, taking everything over there, staying for 2 days. Wherever you're staying, whether you're staying with family or outside, you have to take everything to the stall, sit there. Like, it's so much to think about, and it's not going to be easy. So I decided that I'm going to do it. Let me face it. It's not very far. It's about 6 hours away, but still, let me try it out.
Challenge.
Yeah. So then I roped in my mom and I said, come with me. It's a weekend, so you're not going to be occupied with anything else. So just come along. And so I took her there. And in fact, I was very blessed, because a lot of family and a lot of friends came in over there to help me. And the response was brilliant. A lot of people could connect. But there was also the onset of COVID at that time. So I was actually contemplating to not go. And then the organizers connected with the health ministry, and they told us that it's actually fine right now, so you guys can come in. So we went there, but we were still pretty sure that people are not going to turn up, because we know that by then I think it had become like the news, at least over the world, what was happening was spreading a lot in India, and the fear was creeping in. Even we were very scared that what if we get sick, and what if, even though I think Bangalore didn't have cases by then, it was still very scary. But people did turn up, and the crowd was very different from what it was in Chennai. And I could see a very different kind of mindset. So it was very interesting, and I was very happy that I went there, because it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. I met some amazing people who got in touch with me months after that, and that was very nice for me, that they remembered me from the event. They would reach out after the event and they would say, I met you over there, and I want to get this done from you. I don't want like what everybody else has. And so that was very nice. So building connections is very important. Yeah.
Now, talking about art, you've been into the corporate and you have your own merchandise and all these things you do. And when I was, scrolling through your page, there is one poster you had made about what all you did, like into digital art and watercolors and all these things. You had also mentioned about chef, some kind of chef you had mentioned. What is that about?
So I had taken a sabbatical for a year after my job at the gaming stint in Bangalore. So during that time, I decided that I'm going to just enjoy this 1.5 years, however long the break is going to be, and do everything that I haven't done before. So I became, so I started learning to cook. So that was something that I never wanted to learn, because it's something which was like a checklist that a girl should know these things. So I was very clear that I'm a little bit rebellious. I said I'm not going to learn to cook, and so I decided I won't do it. But then I gave it a thought, and then I thought, okay, let me just try going. My mother just requested in a very nice way. She said, "No, your friend is going. Just go along with her for one day. If you don't like it, come back. Leave it, don't worry about it, but just try. It's more not because you need to learn it, it's because it's a necessity. You might need to know it at some point, and plus it's nice. It's very calming." So she knew that it's a very calming thing to do, but she couldn't put it across to me in that way. So I went for the first thing, and I felt like I'm not this person. Why am I in a cooking class? Why am I trying to learn these things? And it was very it was very sad also in one way, because I was there just to have fun or to learn something, and most of the other people over there was, for them it was that checklist, the one that I was scared about. That there were people who did MPhil in math. I'm sorry, not MPhil in math. They did like MSc math, and they did a lot of other things, but they wanted to learn it as a checklist in their life. That okay, I need to get married, so I need to know this, and that was very disappointing for me. That why should that be associated with this? And so when I went for that, it was by Chellam Aunty, who is in Chennai. She's pretty old. She must be in her 70s or 80s, but she's a darling. So she would treat you like a baby, and she knows people who come there. She doesn't want to judge you for what you are, whether you know something or not. She would even tell you how to hold a spoon, how to hold a fork, how to hold a knife. And for me, that was such a liberating thing that it's so much fun. Somebody's teaching me like I'm a baby, and that's when I noticed that the way she was teaching was so beautiful. And I connected with that because it was more like you don't need to do it to make it perfect. You just have to have fun. Yeah. So I started doing that, and I started baking also with her. So I noticed that I love baking more than anything else. And so I would just bake a lot at home, and I would go crazy with the decor. So I started learning how to do whipped cream, how to do fondant, and I would just keep coming and whipping up lots of different kinds of things. I would mix. I wouldn't want to make it unhealthy. I would try and make it healthy. And so that was like a whole period of a year where I would keep baking lots of things, but not as a business, but more because I love doing it.
Yeah.
So all my creative energy went into that at that time.
So since the beginning, since the childhood, you've always been invested in this kind of art. Even cooking is a type of art, they say. Making it, those decors, and then trying out various combinations and ingredients and all these things. So you have been into the same art, but you have had a lot of changes, maybe from your teachers, whoever taught you, or the domains that you entered into in the corporate itself. So how did you tackle that change? Because change is it's inevitable, but when you have changes that frequently and so many changes at a time, so how did you handle that? Or was it difficult for you to handle change that kind?
Yes, it was very difficult. I think the most challenging for me was when I moved. Like every job in the beginning, people know that you're not from that field, or they feel that you don't have that already. Like I think when I went into gaming, I was from fashion. So people were wondering, you're from fashion, but you're into gaming right now. So I was a clothing designer in the gaming also. So that way I still had a lot of reference, and it wasn't so bad. Okay. But I had to learn a lot of things. I had to learn the software which they were using. I had to figure out how to explain things to them. So the first 3 months, things are going to be difficult. So that's when I knew that it's okay, no matter what people are going to say, I'm still going to be focused. I'm going to give in my 100%, and I'm going to set the expectation right. One thing that I was very clear in all of the places was I will not overwork. I don't want to be one of those people who would be like, I'll work till 12, I will work till 1 a.m. and I will get everything right, and I would show my dedication that way. I felt that was kind of wrong, because that sets a precedence, and you're expected to do that forever after that. Yeah. So the biggest learning was when I moved to Bangalore, and I had to ask for everything. And I noticed that the moment you ask, you actually get it. And that was very strange for me. So I would just go and tell my so over there in gaming, you're called as producers, directors, you're called like that. So I went to my producer and I said, I stay really far, so I'm not going to stay beyond 6 o'clock, but then there are a lot of deliveries after that. So I would need like a laptop access. And then he was like, Beta, you just join. It's just been a month. So it's going to take some time for us to give. There's a long procedure for that. But I noticed that he had a big smile on his face, because nobody would really come and ask these things to him. So I noticed that all you need to do is be very vocal. And that's when I started opening up. Before that, I was never really vocal in my jobs. I would still know something is wrong or something I'm not okay with, but I wouldn't be vocal, and I would suffer inside. And that's why things changed. It became super easy for me. I would talk to my team also in very jovial way, in a very vocal way. And I noticed that everybody started opening up, and they started we all know that we have some strengths and we have some weaknesses. So it's very okay to be open about your weakness, and to say that, this is something that I don't know, but I know I want to learn about it. Yeah. That was one. And the biggest one was in IT. where it was a very massive difficult thing to break through, because I think in IT what happens is, if you're not from an engineering background, they would really feel that you're they wouldn't think that you know what you're saying, but they don't realize that design is very different and coding is really different, and it's okay to not know coding to be good in design. So
Yeah.
that was a huge thing for me to break through. So it was like a huge team of 20 people, and I had to figure out how to convince all the 20 people that, hey, I know what I'm doing, so I'm here with you, we are in a team. So it took a while, but it was very good after that. So it took a while to like break that mindset. So each person has a very different frame of thought.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized that I was good at UX, user experience, because user experience is not just with the app or the website you're designing. It's with life also. How
Yeah.
you change mindset of people, how
How
you
you
make people
provide the
see.
experience.
So yeah, so that's when it was. So I wouldn't say anything is too easy, but it's just the determination. Even the job, like my business that I'm running right now, I know it's pretty difficult. Everything is a challenge. In fact, every day I wake up and I have like 100 things to do, and I would keep thinking like, how do I do this? Can I do it? Can I not do it? But I don't have this thing where I want to give up out of my past experiences. So I know that I just need to keep doing it to get better at it. So
Consistency.
that's what has kept me going.
So, how about teaching? I mean, all this while you've been working or you've been having your own business and everything. And teaching, I think you started off after this, the onset of COVID. How do you feel that? I mean, you come live and there are various people who, join the session, maybe from small kids, from middle-aged or anybody. They just come and they draw along with you, and then you take classes for adults also, for children. And how does it feel to be a teacher?
It's very rewarding. It feels very good. My first stint actually as a teacher was when I was in college. I was teaching these kids at St. John's. It was just a very small, brief thing where every Saturday we would go and teach them. So I was teaching cartoons to them at that time, and it was a very nice feeling. I felt very good at the end of that day when I would go teach them something and I would come back. And so during the lockdown, I didn't actually think about getting into this. In fact, I wanted to set up an institute. I wanted to teach art probably 10, 20 years down the line. It wasn't a plan at all right now. It wasn't something I thought of. So somebody reached out to me and they said, we've been watching your live for a really long time right now, and we love the way you teach. So I was thinking like, okay, is it different the way I'm teaching? Like, what is with it? Because for me, it's very hard to be something else. So I'm just myself when I'm teaching. I just initially it was very awkward because it felt like I'm talking to myself. But then later people would start commenting. They would just ask. They would be like, "Hi." They would have a doubt, and I noticed that it's much easier to have a conversation. So I would attend also a lot of different kinds of lives to understand how people are interacting, what attracts me in a live, and then I realized that I just have to be myself. So just talk. So I would just tell it. If I'm bored, I would say I'm really bored right now. I just want to finish this fast. And if I'm excited, I would say I'm really excited. Today I ate this thing and I got excited. And I noticed these small things, people are able to connect with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed, okay, so it's easy. If I'm trying to be something else, then it's getting really difficult. So just be myself. And so when this team reached out to me, I said, okay, I didn't really till then have the thing. I'm still skeptical whether I can teach well. It's a huge thing because you have to, something that you know over 3 decades, you have to break it down in the easiest possible method to teach someone. And that actually is really difficult. And the more I start teaching, I realize the more difficult it was. And it's like, hats off to all the teachers who've been doing it for so many years without talking about it, that it's actually a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So I did my first.
Yeah.
So I did my first event with SkillXN, and it was a wonderful turnout. It was super good, and I was kind of surprised that so many people are trusting me to learn something from me. And at the end of that 1.5 2 hours, I felt amazing, and that's when I thought, okay, this is something that I think I can do. And then I did another stint with somebody else, and I did for a lot of kids over there. That was the first time I was doing for kids. I was very scared because I know kids are very difficult to handle.
Yeah.
So the good part was these kids love drawing. So the kids who don't like drawing and their parents tell them to draw, they are very difficult to handle because they don't like it. So it's okay to not make them do something they don't like. So far, it's been like a very rewarding experience for me.
That's nice. I mean, most of the times what happens is we think we know it well and we can explain it to others. But knowing something and explaining it to somebody are totally two different things. And I hope everybody understands that, because judgments come easily that way. So, what is that something that you want to tell people who are interested in art? Like, you take normal formal education, or any, like you do an MBA or you do something else. You have a process. Okay, you finish your degree, you go attend an interview, and then you do your job and you carry on like that. But when it comes to an art or an artist, the things are different. Like, you don't have a already predefined path. You need to try out many things. You have to do a lot of experiments, meet new people, and the paths are different. So, what do you want to tell the upcoming artists in the audience, and what do you want to tell them to motivate them?
My one thing would be that they should be consistent. They should keep creating, constantly keep creating every day something. Don't expect anything. Don't expect that tomorrow you would become an overnight star. You would get really like a lot of people want followers, they want likes, they get upset. I would tell them it really doesn't matter. Don't look at any of the numbers. I did well even when I had only 100 followers. I'm doing well even when I have 2,500 followers. Even if I'm going to get million followers 10 years down the line, I'm not going to want to look at the numbers. So what I would tell them that is, be very consistent. It's very important. Keep learning and keep learning different things. When you're consistent, you will automatically get so better at your craft that you will notice that you're starting to get really proud of yourself. And that's when a lot of different ideas would come. So don't run behind artificial things. They are just for the time being. Nothing is going to be permanent, but your skill is always going to be there with you. So get better at your skills. Keep learning constantly. It doesn't matter what age you are in. Whatever new thing comes, just learn it. Get to know what that is. Get to know how that would help you. Technology is something which is constantly changing. So we are evolving with it. We are trying to figure out how things can help us. What if tomorrow AI is the medium of creating basic art? So get on board with it. Don't think that I am a traditional artist, I'm not going to do that. It's fine. Just do everything. But create it. And don't expect anything out of it. Then you will get you'll get a great satisfaction with that.
True. Thank you so much for that, for the tips, Nikita. Now, if like people watching this video, if they want to get in contact with you for maybe for the classes or for anything, how can they reach out to you? Just tell it to the audience.
So I am reachable via email or also by my Instagram handle or Facebook. So Instagram handle is called Art by Nikita with a double K, and email is the same, artbynikita@gmail.com. So you can reach out, you can DM me, you can reach out for art. There are a lot of questions which come in where people want to know basic things about art, saying, what should I do? So you can reach out for that, or you want to just have a chat about having a bad day at being creative, then you can still reach out and I'll help you out with that.
Sure. Thank you so much, Nikita. It was great interacting with you. You are an inspiring person. Why I tell this is the way you engage with people. You said you be yourself, right? Like when you react for even the small texts on the live or for the DM, that is what engages people a lot. Instead, like that is how you inspire people. They'll be like, I have a friend who's in middle age and he'll be like, oh, I have to watch Nikita's live today, and he brought watercolors and all those things, and they keep sending me all this the links of your video and all these things. So that is how inspiring you are. So I thought it's the right place to tell it to you. Thank you so much for your time, Nikita.
Thank you so much. That was really nice to know. Thank you. I had a wonderful time talking with you.
Yeah,
I'm really glad that we did this.
Thank you so much. Even we are so happy that you took your time out and came and spoke to us. So to the audience, Thank you so much for your time. I hope this talk was inspiring and you've got a lot of insights about being an artist or if you want to pursue your career in being an artist. Thank you so much for taking your time out, and I hope this has been an inspiring session for all of you. Until then, stay tuned. This is Reach Her Podcast. We hear you, and this is a platform for all budding women out there. And this is Madhumati signing off until the next time. Thank you.
Reach Skyline. Embrace digital.